All right, here we are in Abilene, Texas. You can tell by the chocolate milk we're riding on. And we finally got an opportunity to ride behind a production 2013 Z1. This is with the Convex VX. You can tell it's got a beautiful long wake. It's not quite as long as the Z3 with VX, but it was really long, and the boat had a lot of hook. The wake had a lot of hook in it. We'll explain that in a little bit. So it had really great push, and you can see it was a nice clean wave. We tested like from taps 1 to 4. We didn't have time to test all the tap settings, and especially because the lake was shallower, we did have sections between 20 and 30 feet deep, but a lot of it was between 6 and 15 feet deep. So it's tough to test the deeper tap settings. They don't work so well in shallower water. Also, it was stormy, so we only had a couple hours to get out and really test the boat, so we were kind of in a hurry. So you can see it's a little rough, but made a really clean, great wake, and RJ's able to get far back. He has a smaller board to test too, but he really struggles riding backside unless he's riding his own board or a board that's a little bit bigger, because he can't quite pump as easily when he's riding backside. But here you get a good look at that wake. And this Z1 has the Pro stock ballast system. We had it full on the rear surf corner, halfway full up front, and then some weight on the opposite side to get us about 8 or 9 degrees of list. Now we're going to go over to the Goofy side, and you can see here, riding Goofy, we're still using the exact same setup, stock weight, same exact setup and list as the other side. The wake was basically identical and clean on both sides, and we tried several tap positions, and it was clean all the way through. Had really good push, especially when RJ was riding the bigger board. He had no problems riding all the way in the back. Alright, so now RJ is riding the Ronix 4.4 on his own side, and you can see the boat has plenty of push. Even with this little board, RJ can go all the way to the back and ride up, and with this little board he could not ride it backside, but on this side no problem. Again, stock weight, we're not adding any extra weight, and it's just me and one other person, a driver, in the boat. Okay, you can see now the wake is a little bigger. We just took an extra sack and added it underneath the passenger seat on the Goofy side. Maybe we got 350 at the most, 350 pounds in there, and you can see how well it responded. So we just added that weight. We filled up the whole front ballast also, now that we added that weight, and then a little to the other side to make the list around that 8 or 9 degrees. And the wake was great, and it really isn't a lot of weight, but the Z1 doesn't need as much weight as the Z3, and it's producing a really fantastic wake. So even though this board was too small for him, you can see that RJ got comfortable, and the wake had plenty of power, was very clean, had a really nice shape and lip, very similar to the Z3. I mean, this boat has the same hull, and you can tell. Okay, so there was something really interesting about the Z1 that we both noticed, and when he was coming in between rides, we were talking about it, and he's basically showing me and talking about it right now. So he goes way out and then kind of comes in. The wake just catches him different than other boats, and the wake has more hook. It comes around behind you, and you could really notice it. It comes around behind you more than even the Z3 or other boats do, and it really helps with that sensation of push. You can see how we're using a tower camera here, and you can see how the wake really comes behind. And I made a little diagram here so you can kind of see the shape of the wake going around behind him. And I have some other footage so that we can kind of compare. Here's an amazing video shot of Ford Chupik recovering on the Z3 at the West Coast Open. Now this is a GoPro Hero 1, so the field of view is a little bit different, but you still get the idea, and you can see how the shape of the wake hooking around him. And then here is RJ on the first time he ever rode a Soulcraft Jetty, by the way, back when the love affair started, and you can see kind of the shape and the way the RZ2 wake goes around him. The interesting thing is if you kind of scale those down to compensate for the field of view, and you add all three, you can kind of, this isn't a perfect example, but you can see that the Z1, it kind of hooks around you at a greater rate than the other one. So even though the wake seems a little shorter than the Z3, it's just different, and it was a great wake. So go to wake9.com and check out our notes for this episode, and we'll go into more detail of exactly what we mean about hook. But basically what we want to say about the Z1, it's a great wake. If you think you're going to like the Z3 wake, or you've ridden a Z3, you'll feel right at home. The wake is extremely similar. It's a little bit shorter, but with that hook that goes around, you still have a really long usable pocket, and it definitely doesn't have less push. I would say it has about equal push, because that hook that comes around you really does pull you forward. RJ, really noticed that sensation, and we'll have to do another test with somebody like Dennis or Frank Walter, get a couple big guys back there. But if you're a bigger guy and not worried, maybe a little worried about the Z1 having enough power for you, I don't think you're going to have any issue. The boat really does have a lot of power in that wake.